I think we're in a moment right now where we recognize that our capitalism is simultaneously enabling us, but also in certain ways destroying us. And we need to move from shareholder capitalism, which is very rooted in the short term, to stakeholder capitalism, which is much more rooted in the long term. Stakeholder capitalism is very naturally Italian. Italian enterprises tend to be rooted tightly into their communities. They aren't just focusing minute to minute or hour to hour. They're focusing more month to month, year to year, decade to decade. And on this question of our ecological impact, this is an opportunity for Italy to lead and the rest of the world to look at the examples that we set. But in order for our Italian enterprises to lead, we need to be able to integrate models that are not just good for the earth, but which are also good for our business. I know that our executives are not afraid of making investments over the long term, but they want to see the progress that we're making to ensure that what we're doing that we know is good for the earth is also good for our business. And ultimately, this falls under a much broader heading of moving from a kind of shareholder capitalism that frankly is almost like Mad Max capitalism. It's eat what you kill, every man for himself. But in a world of eat what you kill and every man for himself, we all end up a little hungry. We all end up not very happy. We need to take a more collective approach to our capitalism. We need to take a more collective approach to recognizing that the world that we live in and the climate that we all benefit from is a shared resource that requires shared solutions, with business being a very prominent part of that. You know, I think the pause from COVID-19 is making us think a little bit more about our ecological impact. Do we need to get on a plane for every single meeting that's not in our city? Do we really need to spend an hour and a half in the automobile every day, 5 days a week, driving to and from work? We have to rethink some of these assumptions. But I do think we have to recognize that there will be some return to normalcy. We'll be getting back on the airplanes. We'll be driving back to work. And so what I think this moment creates is a recognition of the imperative for innovation. If the last 20 years have been dominated by innovation in communications, in the way that we receive and send information, in the way that we manage business processes, it is my hope that the next decade will be one where our innovation is really characterized in how we can live on this planet but do so more sustainably, using advanced materials, using new sources of energy, modifying our behaviors as we need to, but modeling excellence inside our corporations until we've arrived at that clean energy future. We're at a moment where we can think about these things, plan for these things, and fortunately, since we have the technical and engineering skills to actually solve these problems and bring them to market. Traditional energy companies are in a race for the future. Look, the price of oil is going to continue to go down for the foreseeable future. It'll have its moments where it goes up a little, but the very simple fact of the matter is that there is an imperative for our humanity and frankly in our economic systems to move towards more sustainable forms of energy. Now, the existing incumbent large energy companies have more knowledge about energy production and consumption than anybody else. And if they choose to focus that on sustainable forms of energy, they can pioneer its use. But if they close their eyes and clutch their fists and say, no, 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 all that matters is coal and oil, and that's what we work at, then eventually they are going to be supplanted by the innovators. by the next generation of people who are imagining and inventing a clean energy future. But the choice is really inside these existing energy companies. Do you want to cling to oil? Do you want to cling to yesterday's dirty technologies as the sole source of tomorrow's energy? Or do you want to be able to take the expertise that you have in your enterprise and say, let's focus a lot of this, let's focus a lot of our expertise on how we can drive the next generation of energy solutions.